I've been a serial entrepreneur all my life. Started, last count, probably about 17 companies. Two of them were universities, actually. My first university was back in the late 80s called the International Space University, which is now a very successful institution based in Strasbourg, France. Back in the late 90s, 96, 97, I had read Ray Kurzweil's book, The Singularity is Near, had been thinking about the massive tsunami of technology coming down and realizing that there was no place on the planet I could go to really put my finger on the pulse, not on one technology, but across the board, and really understand how it's converging and how it's impacting every part of life, every part of business. And I said, maybe it's time to create a new institution. Went and had dinner with Ray. I was recruiting him onto my board at X Prize Foundation. And he got it right away, and he said yes. And we very quickly launched the university, had a founding event at TED in 2009 in February, and launched the first program in the summer. And it's, as a exponential university should be, it's been doubling every year since.
And the idea is essentially just kind of getting a lot of smart people in a room and letting them come up with companies?
Well, the idea is multifold. First of all, it's the notion that there's a very core set of technologies that any CEO needs to understand today, and that any kid in the garage, any entrepreneur who wants to make a big dent in the world should have in their repertoire. And those are the technologies that are growing exponentially. They're the technologies riding on the back of Moore's law and computational speed. It's cloud computing, what we might call infinite computing, sensors, networks, AI, robotics, 3D printing, synthetic genomics, digital medicine. It's these groups of technologies that are technologies that used to be only available to the governments and the largest corporations in the world, that are now in the hands of entrepreneurs and allow them to take huge swings at the bat. They're also the technologies that entrepreneurs use to go from an idea to running a billion-dollar company in 24 months. And it's the technologies that can be disruptive to Fortune 500 companies. So the idea was create the right educational experiences. And we have 4 different categories. We have a graduate program for top graduate students. We have an executive program. We have these exponential conferences like the one I'm speaking to you at now, Exponential Finance. And then we have one for Fortune 200 C-suite executives called Innovation Partners Program. And that's one big part of it. The other part is we like to incubate startups. We love spinning out 12 to 20 startups every summer out of our graduate program. And these are startups that use exponential technologies, whose mission it is to basically positively impact the lives of 1 billion people. We call these 10 to the 9th plus startup companies. And we have a thing called SU Labs. We build these, and our goal is to create huge wealth while creating a world of abundance.
You were speaking about it earlier, and I was almost picturing it sort of like this summer camp, of a group of really smart individuals just breaking off into groups and coming up with ideas. I mean, does it have that feeling to it?
It has a real, true vibrancy. So the graduate programs are 10 weeks long. They run June, July, and August. We have 3,000 plus applicants for 80 spots. They all are entrepreneurs. They've built something, whether it's a startup project, a lab, an experiment, whatever it is. They've done something. They haven't just been all talk. They're at top of their class, or they've distinguished themselves in some significant fashion. And for the first 5 weeks, they study all the most powerful technologies on the planet, we just discussed, and then we talk about what are the world's biggest problems. What are the problems that are affecting billion-level people? And that's the targeting data. And then we say, build a product or service that can impact 1 billion people in a decade. My mantra is that the best way to, become a billionaire is help 1 billion people. And if you can do that, it's a win-win.
I'm wondering if there's a way in which the X Prize and Singularity are at odds from the standpoint of it sounds, one of the sort of key factors behind the X Prize is these disruptive technologies, and really in a sense kind of working outside of, it started as a way to work outside of these large governmental bureaucratic bodies, while isn't part of the driving force behind Singularity to sort of teach the companies themselves how to create those disruptive technologies?
Yeah, I like to say they're two sides of the same coin. XPRIZE sets the targets, and SU helps find and educate the teams that will compete to solve them.
And you've found that, and for obvious reasons, these large corporations are pretty hesitant to create something that could potentially, disrupt their own jobs.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge is, and I say this to all the CEOs I keynote and consult to or have an IPP or Innovation Partners program, I say, the only constant is change. The rate of change is increasing. You either disrupt yourself or someone else will. That's, period, the rule. Every company will be disrupted in some shape, fashion, or form, right? You've got Windows and you've got, Word and Excel being disrupted by, Google's products. You have a constant turnover. I was just, talking with Dan Hesse, the CEO of Sprint, and he was saying, 2007, Nokia is the largest phone player in the world, and number 2 is BlackBerry. And where are we 6 years later? They're both effectively gone. I mean, what rapidity of changeover is palpable, and there's a stat out of the Olin School of Business that says, in the next decade, 40% of today's Fortune 500 companies will no longer exist. So, it's Darwinian evolution in play.
Yeah. Very, very rapid Darwinian evolution.
Yeah.
And fragmentation, though, seems to be the direction that, everything is going in with, as a result of the internet. Culture, we've already seen music go this way in a lot of respects. Is that ultimately going to be more beneficial to have a lot of smaller companies doing the innovation, or is it more beneficial to have innovation in the hands of these large multinational corporations?
I think that true innovation requires taking risk. I like to say the day before something is truly a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea. And where inside your company, you're inside your organization, your industry, do crazy ideas get tried? Very few do. And so it's really individual small teams that have much more to gain and much less to lose that will take extraordinary risks. And that's really the culture. And you'll have 99% fail, but if one pulls it off, it's caused a massive disruption. So that's the basis for XPRIZE, the basis for allowing lots of teams in a high-pressure cooker competitive environment to go for it. And within Singularity University and our innovation SU labs, it's really giving them an audacious task of impacting 1 billion people and giving them the most powerful tools and asking them to take moonshots, so to speak.
Is part of the mission statement behind Singularity to also open up those resources to everybody? That's the ideal, right? That everybody has access to that information, and the not just the whatever percentage that can actually make their way out to Mountain View.
Yeah, we are a benefit corporation. Our mission is to benefit the world on a multitude of dimensions. So we are just now have a big push to take the learnings that we have and put them online. So there will be an SU Online element for the public, for companies. There will be obviously the companies that are born, bred, and incubated at SU are for attacking the world's biggest problems. So there's a number of dimensions there that we're focused on.
I'm wondering how one becomes a serial entrepreneur, and whether that was by design or whether that was something that just kind of happened for you.
I guess it's something that has happened. I've always found I have visions of the way the future should be, and when it doesn't exist, my reaction is if I care about it enough, I'll go do it. And so zero gravity, weightless parabolic flight was something that NASA was doing. I wanted to do it. I couldn't get on NASA's airplane. I said, screw it. I'll do it myself, and built a company to go and do weightless flights. Space Adventures, Planetary Resources, most recently Human Longevity Inc. All these come from a passionate personal desire to make these changes in the world.
The idea of going out and doing it, I guess, is in some respects different than it used to be. From the standpoint of working to launch these individual companies for these individual products. I mean, I guess you could have just become kind of the space guy with the space corporation.
Sure, I could have. My brand could have just been space, and there was a temptation to remain focused on that. But I think the winning of the X Prize showed me the power of small teams, and the work I was doing with SU showed me how extraordinary the technologies that are coming online. And so I became much more enamored with what are the world's biggest problems and how do we solve them. And I think that there is a fundamental moral imperative for us to take on the world's biggest problems and to solve them. And I think that we now have the abilities to do that. And if we have those abilities, why wouldn't we? Couple that with the fact that, as I like to say, problems are gold mines. They can be mined for extraordinary value, capital value, societal value, and that the world's biggest problems, the world's biggest market opportunities.
It's such an interesting thing that what's ultimately, when you really dig down deep enough, what's driving these humanitarian efforts are money, or are people seeking out money?
People are seeking meaning, seeking money, seeking a number of different things. Understanding what drives somebody is really important. Is it the need for certainty, this need for entertainment, for challenge? We all love to be challenged. Is it the need for significance? Is it the need for retribution? That some shit really hit you hard and vengeance, that you're gonna damn that airline or car company or whatever that screwed me over. I'm going to show them. I mean, for me, it was, when NASA wouldn't let me on the zero-G airplane, I was like, screw that, I'll do it myself, and went out and actually got NASA's zero-G business and took over their operation. Yeah. And I mean, it was a little bit of personal payback there.
This is something I've been thinking about a lot, but it seems to me that one of those things driving people is excitement. It's just the excitement of exploration. I mean, that's part of what's kept mankind going for so long. And I'm worried if it's getting harder and harder to get excited about things. When you're moving from mining asteroids one day to autonomous cars the next day, how do you, when you're dealing with all of these just really sort of breakthrough technologies, is it possible to be continually excited by things?
Oh yeah. There's endless challenges, and they're all hard, and they're all meaningful, and they're all fun. And I pinch myself a lot of times. I can be having very serious conversations with some of the most brilliant, entrepreneurs, investors, engineers on the planet about, extracting fuels or strategic metals from asteroids orbiting the sun, and then talking about, okay, how do we, rewrite the stem cell genome to give you an extra 30 years of human lifespan? I mean, we're living during a magic time. We're living during the most extraordinary time ever in human history, and it's an amazing time to be alive.
It seems like the key is kind of, diversifying your portfolio. And you talked about that before when you were dealing with, people who went through a PhD program, spent 8 years to, spend the rest of their lives dealing with one very specific part of the human genome. And do we have that ability now to work in more spaces than ever before?
I think so, but the other thing is all those spaces are converging. Is synthetic genomics, for example, writing genomes a programming language? Is it, it merges with AI, it merges with foods and with fuels, it merges with a whole range of different things. So I think, honestly, every field is merging with every other field in a way that is, for me, I've got 2 3-year-old boys at home, and I think about what do I want to teach them in this world going forward. And it's help them discover and focus on their passion so that they're passionate about something, and then help them stay curious. And I think those are the 2 most important attributes going forward in the world, curiosity and passion.
And the role you're playing in this convergence is just putting all these smart people in the same place.
I think it's my goal is to inspire and guide, right? Inspire and guide on getting humanity off the planet, and inspire and guide on attack the world's biggest problems as business opportunities, because it creates extraordinary wealth and creates this world of abundance that I see so clearly and want to help accelerate. I don't think it's going to happen without me, but if I can accelerate a little bit, so much the better.
There you go. It was Peter Diamandis. One of our very very rare mini episodes of RAYL. Was a short one, but Peter Diamandis is one of those people that honestly I feel pretty lucky that I was even able to get alone for in a room for 15 minutes. Very very busy guy. We recorded that here in New York City. There was a financial conference out here that he was attending. Managed to schedule a very very brief one-on-one interview with him. Peter, if you're not familiar. Obviously we touched on this during the interview, but he's the founder and the chairman of the X Prize. They're the folks out there who are giving lots of money for people to do private space travel to the moon, really fast solar vehicles. Basically incentive to kind of create the future. He is the co-founder of Planetary Resources. Speaking of the future, they're the people who are going out there and actually mining asteroids. So incredibly interesting, incredibly busy dude. Thanks so much to Peter for taking the time to sit down with us. Hope you guys, though brief, I think he opened up and said some really interesting stuff towards the end there. So hope you guys enjoyed that conversation as much as I enjoyed doing the conversing. Thanks to Brian, as always, for editing together this episode of RAYL. Thanks to Mark and everybody else at the Boing Boing Podcast Network. Many fine podcasts over there. And also, it seems like every single week, I know I say this every single week, but it seems like every single week there's a brand new podcast series for you to enjoy over there. You can find those over at boingboing.net. You can also find them over on iTunes. There's a really fancy pants iTunes page. And while you're over there, you should take the time to rate the show if you enjoyed what you heard. We've got a Tumblr. It's raylcast.tumblr.com. You will find the show hours, if not days, before you will find it over at Boing Boing. We've got an email address as well. That's raylcast@gmail.com. All sorts of good shows lined up. We will be back just about this time next week with another episode of RAYL.